The company is here, my friends. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Happy
Good
Labor
afternoon.
Day. Well, you have a afternoon. We're talking to our friend Demi, also known as Graniopteryx, a very interesting, very entertaining, very charming blogger across the pond in London,
Yes,
United Kingdom. How are you? How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. It's a lovely day here, and I'm talking to you instead of riding my horse, you should know.
Oh, what happens? Why?
Because I'm talking to you.
Oh, that's knowing you a little bit. I know it's a big
A big
one.
thing.
Yeah,
Yes.
big thing.
Yeah.
So thank you for coming, and we'll try to make it interesting for everybody involved. And I know that you are watching the world with great interest, and
Oh,
of
yes.
course we wanted we wanted to touch upon several things that you had plans to talk about as well. And of course, this is first of all, you wanted to ask me about Mikhail Gorbachev.
Yeah,
You
I
had
just
some
wanted
thoughts.
to ask you. I know a lot of Russians dislike him, but I did notice. I mean, they had a hard time. I can understand that. But I did also notice that there were a lot of people queuing up very respectfully and for long periods outside his lying in state. And I assume that was some sort of a protest. So I
Mm.
wanted to ask you what you thought.
Putin didn't show up to his funerals as well, and Russians, of course, look at it from the inside, and the Gorbachev's time was a blessing for many, and it was a wake up call for the nation. Nation was pretty much aligned with the stagnation sort of thing going on at the time. And Gorbachev said, or gave a chance to people who would listen, who would kind of could connect, rub two sticks together, and go and achieve. And a lot of people woke up. But the majority of the nation was not ready for this. It took either more time for people to get along with the program, or they just went into the forgotten man or woman category.
Mm-hmm.
There was no other sexes at the time.
There was no plan, was there?
The plan was to let things go, and I wouldn't say. There is a laissez-faire and there's laissez-faire. So
Mm-hmm.
there's when there is a law, when there is a judiciary system, when there is a safety net in the country, it's one story. And we still have some semblance of it in the West. Whatever people say about the chaos and etc., decline, crisis, all the nice words that we hear every minute. But in Soviet Union, there would turn out to be that we had nothing of the sort, and there was really everything was falling apart, and people who had uh, bigger maws, so to speak, or sharper teeth,
Yeah.
or bigger claws, they would grab as much as they could. And poor people, older people, people who had no spent their lives under communism, they had no idea that other things exist in life.
Mm-hmm.
I was You see, I spent 10 years of my life between 73 and 83 playing music, rock band. I had my own little band. So then I was kind of prepared of doing things, swimming against the current, uh,
Mm-hmm.
in my mind at least. I was
Yes.
not a big resistance guy, not at all, just happy childhood, etc. And then I switched to theater and film for another 10 years, and then perestroika couldn't be more interesting for me because I had a chance. Being a Jewish boy in Uzbekistan, I had no almost had no chance. So, if I wanted to do my own thing, I couldn't be a student in a film institute. Very, very, very not competitive. I'm not afraid of competition, as a lot of people noticed recently, but say there was this politics that you cannot have a Jewish student unless he's somebody's relative or he's exceptionally talented, etc., etc., etc. So I did not fall into those categories.
Mhm.
And when I was kind of the highest level of attempt of at the education in the Film Institute in Moscow was when the two Jewish filmmakers were putting together a group to study, and they both were Jews, and they said we cannot take a Jew. I was like the best in after the first round, and they said we'll be now accused of preferential treatment, so we cannot take you, although you were the best after the first round. So
Do you
long
know?
story, I
I'm
got my
sorry.
chance. I got my chance.
You're. I have to say this. You said it was not that easy for a Jew to be accepted into higher education or film education or whatever in Uzbekistan,
In
and
Moscow.
yeah. What I just pulled myself up because I was sitting there, sort of nodding,
Hmm.
nodding like this. And then I suddenly thought, God damn it, here am I sitting here, and some guy is telling me, well, of course there was racial prejudice, but and I was thinking, well, yeah, that's the way the world is. And what a terrible thing. What a dreadful thing to what's the word, to internalize something so
Yeah,
much
to
that it
accept it.
just like you say, well, of course there was oxygen there, in the atmosphere.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sorry, I've broken
No,
into what you
it's
said.
okay. It's nothing. I mean, I'm on my usual, kind of off the ramp
Yeah,
talk. But the long story short, there is a lot of Jewish names in, or even or Jews in the film industry everywhere. It's kind of one of the things. It used to be like a tailor, it used to be like banker, it used to be this or that. So there are a lot of Jewish names. Behind every name, there is a story of overcoming the odds. Mine were not the worst, but I managed during Perestroika. That's what I was why I
yes,
brought it up. I got a chance. I wrote films that were shown, small films, not something like everybody saw it, and like not Gone with the Wind. But I got my chance to get my name out. I became an official member of the Union of Filmmakers, which was very, very big thing for anybody to achieve. And I mean, before you get there, you understand that it's kind of huge, but then you realize you only have a right to go to the restaurant in Dom Kino in Moscow and have better food, which would come handy, of course, when you.
yeah, yeah,
So that was the thing, and that to me, perestroika was a blessing, because I lived in still try to kind of, if you look at it, I live in the world of ideas. But for those who live day to day and hand to mouth, and this was this thought, but of life, being built every day, a little bit, this and that, and dreaming is the thing of the past. For those people, it was very hard. And I remember people selling this humanitarian aid in the market, because when you get like a bag of say macaroni sent from America to you go and sell it, you cannot eat it all and you have other needs. So people were selling a lot of humanitarian aid in the market right next to Dom Kino, the filmmakers union. So it was a terrible sight. 1991, it was like
yeah,
oof,
yeah, yeah,
scary. So I was feeling not that bad, and I was finding a way to do what I like to do, and sometimes it was the only thing I could do.
hmm,
So that was, to me, it was great. But I mean, great, something to talk about like 20, 30 years later. But for a lot of people, it was, of course, a period of confusion, of lost hopes, and broken life, shattered.
Well, not lost hopes, but lost certainties, perhaps.
No, hopes were lost too, until they saw what Gorbachev had to offer. This cooperative movement, which was like first private enterprises were encouraged sort of again, and a lot of people used it, and they got richer. And then they left. Many of them left, and their
Yeah,
place were taken. What's today called the Russian oligarchs.
Mm-hmm.
Not too many of them grew from this first cooperative movements, but then they realized that they can buy state property very, very cheaply during privatization.
Yeah.
So that was the story. That was the story. But Gorbachev remains. I mean, I try to look at him objectively. Of course, his manners, his speech, his attitude towards Professor Sakharov was absolutely disgusting. But altogether, on the balance, I would say that he played a good part and is really a historic figure, not without his flaws, of course.
Yeah.
So rest in peace.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks. I did want to hear. I did a rundown on him in one of my videos, but it was more to do with how he overcame the attempted coup, because that's a really, a punchy story. It's a great story.
Yeah.
You could make a film of that.
No, I think that they built a museum around this in Yekaterinburg. I think the whole museum, which became very controversial. The museum is, like so many museums in the world, has been designed by a American company.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Yeah, so they attracted a lot of people. I was even involved a little bit in this museum because they wanted to create a dummy presentation where people read the Constitution of Russia, new Constitution of Russia, on many screens, different people. So they wanted to get some celebrities. So they hired some people who were on the list of some agency that they would just come and read it for $100, like spend 5 minutes. So I was one of those dummy.
Well, that's all right.
Stand-ins, whatever you call them. But yeah, of course, it's a lot of things that you do in New York that you just do it on short notice. They say, come, you come, get paid, and you leave.
Yeah.
So that was the thing. So back to our perestroika, our current perestroika. What do you think of that?
Are you talking about Biden's speech?
Biden's speech, we can touch on this, but bigger things are in how they call it, in the oven right now. So, what was your impression of what he said? Did it make any sense?
Well, to start with, when I listened to it, I gave up after a few minutes because I really couldn't understand what he was saying. But I did get the text, and I was impressed by a couple of things. So can I mention them to you?
Sure.
The amount of religious imagery that's in his speech. He starts off with the sacred ground, Independence Hall in Philadelphia. He talks about God a lot. And yeah, he's constantly using religious imagery. If I just type in here, just a minute, religious, because I put a note there, but I haven't got the whole speech. So there's the sacred ground in America. And then there's that sacred flame still burns. And then all created equal in the image of God. And America, United States, and may God protect our nation. May God protect all those who stand watch over democracy. And he's constant, he's trying to. I don't know whose idea that red lighting was. It was a little bit wrong. I suspect it may have been a Trump voter who got the fader up, but. I mean, the idea that he's standing there with these lights behind him and soldiers talking about God, and then also talking about we as opposed to Trump voters. He was doing that a lot as well. So what he's doing is, it was sort of like a cult speech. We have possession of God, and there are all those people there in the outer darkness who aren't actually us. And that was the basic. I could go through the whole thing, sentence by sentence as a textual analysis. But I think he thought that, or not him, but whoever wrote his speech, thought that by using these buzzwords, democracy, God, American values, that he was going to create a cohesive lump of people who saw everybody else as outsiders. And then, of course, there's this position he was in, this high podium with an iconic building behind him and a row of soldiers.
There was 2 soldiers, actually, and there were Marines, and they were kind of in the shadow, which gave it very ominous to feel to the whole thing. It was creepy because usually when you have soldiers in the back, you put them there for a purpose, and they're well lit and they're next to the flag and etc. etc. And in this case, they were standing in the shadow, like waiting to jump, like Kerberos or something.
Maybe they were there to stop the audience from running out in horror.
But I think that's his Hollywood friends, that built it for him and designed it for him, because Obama had this. There was this episode when the guy, I think he's some of a big time manufacturers of the video cameras, like video camera called Red, like high definition camera. Mm-hmm. He used to be, or still is, a big Obama supporter. So he lives in New Jersey or whatever. And so in New Jersey, he gathered together kids to sing Osama to Obama or some such, and he recorded this whole thing. It was so creepy. It's like kids were trained to glorify Obama through just forced to sing all those things. And of course they did it happily because they're just kids and they hear nothing bad about anything in their lives, happy lives in New Jersey. But this whole thing made circles because people were just stupefied at how insensitive it was to kids. It looked like kids abused and stuff. So those things happen in Democratic circles. It's less of it happens in Republican circles because we spend less money on politics. that I feel every day. Republican Party.
Yeah, well,
not spending much money on, we talk a lot about winning and necessity and the common sense and what makes sense in our world. But when it comes to budgeting and everything, that a lot of people who say they're pro-Republicans and they are pro-US, they give money to Democrats. Organizationally, really? Yeah, because they try. I'm talking about, again, Jewish organizations that I approached, and they just afraid of crazy Democrats. They don't want them to kind of group into very hostile hostile segments of Democratic Party. So they try to prevent them. They say, we'll support you. We're Republicans, but we will support you because we want you not to join forces with Ilhan Omar or other, extremists, Ocasio-Cortez, of course. And they also tried to, before the primaries before primaries this August, they tried to fund those MAGA Republicans. Democrats did give money to MAGA Republicans who were having primaries. I didn't have primaries, otherwise I would get some money. But there was no other.
You mean to deflect?
They thought that if they would get a nomination to run in November 8th during those primaries, then they would be easier to defeat the MAGA Republicans. So there was a movement, and they spent like, I don't know, in Pennsylvania they spent like $50 million to defeat Dr. Oz in the primaries. That didn't happen. So that's the games that we play here in America. And so we wanted to touch upon so how's the world changing, say, in light of recent crisis of fuel in Germany, when Russia is turning off the supply of gas and oil? Would it touch upon the United Kingdom, or
the price,
you have your own system?
The price is going up, but there is no, at the moment, there's no prospect of the gas being turned off because there's very little gas that Britain imports. In fact, leading to the question, which I also have, that being the case, why is the price quadrupled? So I have no idea about that. They say it's to do with world gas prices, but what's coming out the ground here is coming out the ground here. So I do not understand that. But yes, so people are suddenly discovering that a gas bill, which was £2,000 last year, is now something like £8,000. I mean, it's not just a little bit. And there was one, this is especially hitting places like restaurants and pubs and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So everybody's screaming about that. But the possibility of the gas going off in people's houses, that's not...
Yeah, there's a lot of, forgive the pun, gaslighting going on in this industry. Because Joe Biden kept saying that he couldn't do anything about the prices for the gas or the gasoline, and then the price went down because some taxes were kind of suspended, and so the actual price, the gas stations, they make money on volume that they sell, and it's kind of thing that I observed in my 26 years in the States. Then the more expensive the gas gets, the more pumps close. It's kind of like,
well, just a minute. How
could be
come
the other way?
How do they close?
They just close. They cannot sell. They cannot stay in business. They cannot be competitive. They have bigger companies. They have smaller companies.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So they are in some places they're very densely located. Some places in Brooklyn there's a lot of gas stations, and they just stop selling gas because they cannot stay and compete. And British Petroleum, which is called now BP.
It's been called BP for a long time.
Yeah, I know. It's so, but no, not too many people know that it's British Petroleum. That's
right.
I'm saying it nowadays.
No, do you want to know something? That Obama, when there was that terrible Gulf of Mexico thing, when
the spill,
a drill just exploded, and there was Obama, who hates Britain. He kept saying he didn't, but he never lost an opportunity to make a speech about this terrible accident, which is the fault of British Petroleum. And he always gave it the full name.
Of course.
So, yes, it's only used when somebody doesn't like Britain.
Yeah, but I like BP. I got the cards from BP, and I get 15 cents off every gallon I buy from them. So 15 cents go a long way if you kind of fill up the tank and you drive a lot. And I do drive a lot. So these days, so it comes handy. So nobody pays the price as low as I do, because I'm not paid by BP. But to say this, but that's the reality. They give me discounts on this. At their pumps, at their gas stations. So yeah, but what do you think of the world conspiracy thing? Perestroika. Nobody's talked about.
Just a minute. What are you talking about here?
The world conspiracy, of course. It's entered mainstream. It's not conspiracy no more. It's just a fact of life that somebody else.
Are you talking about the World Economic Forum?
Yes.
Schwab.
These guys.
You'll own nothing, and you'll be happy. Yeah.
Yeah, are we moving in this direction? In your opinion, I'm sorry
to
about
their best.
Jumping this way. But,
yeah, for sure. And you see, and what's happening, and it's the flip side of the good communications.
Mm-hmm.
We can talk to each other. So I mean, it used to be that when Winston Churchill wanted to talk to whoever happened to be in the White House at the time, he'd have to book a call, and then there'd be this transatlantic cable thing with operators. But now they just pick up a phone or make an email, so they can cooperate much more easily. That I'm not saying that they all sit around going, let's command, rule the world. But what they are doing is they're talking to each other So they're reinforcing their ideas. And you know what it's like when you get people in a group and eventually the hive mind starts to coalesce into one thing. So all you need is a few talking about, the economics of scale and the climate crisis and all that stuff. And you get them starting to think alike. When Boris Johnson started out as Prime Minister, I had such hopes for him. And he was so original and fresh and punchy, And then after a bit of being the Prime Minister and going to all these meetings and conferences, you saw him sort of.
You saw the big picture. You saw the big picture.
Well, you may say that, but what he was actually seeing was the picture everyone else was seeing, the Emperor's New Clothes thing.
No.
So I don't think it's a conspiracy, but I do think it's trying to happen.
No, it's the same thing, and it's may look like an unseemly comparison, but that's how Al Qaeda operated. You just a lot of people spread around the world. They know that they have certain affinity towards certain ideas. Like we can say today that a lot of people are predisposed towards socialism, and more or less. So when you say it's time, some of them will act. They don't know where, but they know the method. So it's like the general, and it's facilitated by, of course, the speed of communication that you have mentioned. And the effectiveness of it. And there's a variety of the means of delivery. So people watch it on TikTok, they watch it on YouTube, they watch it on everywhere. Yeah. And there is action, and somehow it gravitates towards nothing good. All this
it's
never anything good is done this way. It's always like bad stuff. Terrorism, socialism.
No, not always bad stuff. It isn't always bad stuff. I mean, we get to talk to each other, do we? Don't we? Yeah. And there are others. There are others with far more pull and influence than us who get to talk to each other. We are, though, forming part of the pool. No, pool's the wrong word. A pool can't push back, can it? How would I say? We're forming a part of the mass that's stopping the advance. And the only thing we have to do is keep on talking.
That's true. That's true. Sometimes we will stop somewhere. At a certain moment we stop. But I'm saying that we are a little bit late. Not that. I wanted to say late in the game because this other side is formed already, and we see it for a long time, as long as socialism has entered the world bloodstream, etc. But we're catching up. We're moving fast, and the world sees more and more. And this COVID thing was a catalyst too, because people were so stunned by all this. They started talking. They started, trying to put a paid, as my friend says, on this whole system of enforcement of people, depriving them of their rights, etc., etc. So that was a good thing, and I think we are on the right side of history. I mean, it's not easy.
Now that is an expression. I think Obama came up with that, didn't he? Which I don't like to hear.
You don't like to hear it.
No, I'm not telling you off. I'm not telling you off. I'm just saying when you say I'm on the right side of history, that absolutely places you.
I said, I think we are on the right side of history, if I remember correctly.
We are doing the right thing.
Yes.
We are doing the moral thing. We can't appeal to history. That's gone, and that's not in our control. But we can say that in the circumstances we are here now, I truly believe I am doing the right thing in my channel.
Same here. My results are totally kind of unpredictable, and still, the jury is still still out. So, but It's amazing how the collective mind, hive mind, as you described it. I forgot this the expression, but thank you for bringing it up. It works, and we'll see the final image of the world. Those people see. Those who are thinking that they are lording over us, it's still, the end result is. I don't know what they have in mind.
They think they can organize the world better than we, all this messy stuff down here of people thinking independent thoughts. It's untidy, isn't it? One of my history books, when I was a kid, they were talking about Oliver Cromwell, and whoever was writing about it was not Oliver Cromwell's best fan, and the author said something like the fault of dictators is that they always think they know better than the people.
Yeah.
And I was really a child at the time, might have been about 8 when I read that, but that stuck in my mind because it was so absolutely the thing.
Yeah, it's human nature doesn't go anywhere. That's another proof. The times we live in, but today in the United States is a Labor Day, and it's like so many.
Happy Labor Day, everyone!
Yes,
sorry, I didn't know.
It's the day after which you cannot wear white pants.
Just a minute, white trousers, you mean?
White trousers, yes.
Right, yeah. I'm just checking for my British viewers.
British, yeah, not the same thing.
No, not the same thing at all. Right, you can't wear white trousers after Labor Day. What about white gloves?
White gloves. I hope we won't have too many opportunities to do so unless we are the Marines standing behind another session of Joe Biden. Everybody, I want to wish you a happy Labor Day, and I wish our labor will bring us to good results. And as long as labor doesn't end, we'll see what's this Latin thing? I may not remember. Ibi Uber, Ubi labor, something like that. So those who work, they see the results.
Oh, okay.
You don't.
I don't know that one.
Let me just bring it up so that I have to have this door closed.
You mean to the work of the fruits?
Yes. Ibi Uber. Uber didn't.
No, Uber is not. Oh, it's not there. I thought you were just about to order a taxi.
And yeah. The word came from there.
Yeah. Yes. Actually, Uber means to do with a surfeit of food.
Mm-hmm.
In exuberant. The word exuberant comes from fertility. That's over fertility. Yeah, go on. Sorry.
Ubi labor, ibi uber.
Yes, I have heard that. You're right.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
So somehow I got only Italian translation here. But that's the thing, those who work. You said it very succinctly. Can you repeat it, please?
To the workers, the fruits.
Yes. Happy Labor Day, everybody. Thank you so very much, Demi. And thank you for the short video, that relatively short story that we told this morning.
It was very short, but very enjoyable.
Thank you. Back to work now.
Yeah.